There's a woman in the town. Her name is Tabitha, and for weeks now, children have been coming to her. They come at night. They come in broad daylight. Their clothes are decades out of date, torn and burned. There are patches where their hair should be. And they don't ask for help. They reach out. They touch her arm, gently, like they know her, and they say one word. Ankou.
One word. Nobody in the town knows what it means. The show doesn't translate it. And here is the detail that should raise the hair on your arms. The children saying it have been dead for a very, very long time.
Welcome back to The Myth Beneath. This is from Season 2, Part 2. Last time, the blood, the box, and the bound man. Tonight, the other half of the season. The children, the tree, and the door out.
Same rules as always, because the rules are the show. When something is documented folklore, we tell you who wrote it down and when. When it's a theory, ours or the fandom's, we say so out loud and we stay inside the Season 2 mystery. If Season 3 answered something, that answer does not exist tonight.
The canon police can stand down. Deal?
Deal. Now, the children.
All season, they circle Tabitha, touching her, whispering that word. And in the finale, a man named Jade goes down into the tunnels beneath the town, alone, which is a terrible idea, and we'll get to the tunnels, and he sees them, children, sitting on slabs of stone in the dark, and every one of them is pointing up at a symbol carved above their heads, a symbol that looks like roots.
Hold on to that symbol. We're coming back for it. Because dead children who come to the living, that is not a writer's room invention. That is one of the oldest and honestly one of the saddest categories in Slavic folklore. Remember Dmitry Zelenin, 1916, the Zalozhny Pokojniki, the unclean dead, the ones who died wrong whom the earth will not accept. Well, the folklore asks a terrible follow-up question. What happens when the one the earth won't accept is a child? Across the Slavic world, those children have a name. In Bulgaria, they're the navi. In Slovenia, the navie. In Ukraine, the mavki. The souls of children who died unbaptized or murdered or unmourned. Too small, the belief goes, to find the road to the other world on their own. So, they stay. They come out at night. Sometimes as birds, sometimes as children, half-glimpsed. They cry like infants in the dark. They call to the living, and they lead travelers off the path. Lyudmila Vinogradova, a folklorist at the same Moscow institute as Svetlana Tolstoya from our first episode, spent decades cataloging exactly these beliefs.
So when the people of this town hear children crying in the night forest,
they are hearing the oldest recorded sound in the European night. And you already know the rule because it has run through every episode of this series. Don't answer. Remember the Drekavik? Vuk Karadžić wrote it down in 1818, the screaming spirit of a dead child that draws people out of their houses. Same family, same trap. A child's voice in the dark is the one lore human beings have never learned to resist.
Okay, the word itself, Ankou, because the fandom has a theory, and it's a good one, so let's do it properly. There is a figure in Breton folklore, that's the Celtic corner of France, called the Ankou, the graveyard watchman, death's own herald who collects the souls of the dead. Anatole Lebras wrote the classic collection of Ankou legends in 1893, and Ankou, you hear it.
And we'll say it exactly the way our deal requires. That is a fan theory, a sound match. The show has never confirmed it, and the real meaning of that word belongs to a later season, so tonight it stays a locked door. But notice where everyone's instincts point. Whatever the children are saying, people assume they learned it from the dead.
Now the tree. Because deep in that forest, there's a tree that should not exist. It's hung with glass bottles, dozens of them, and inside the bottles, slips of paper with numbers. We are not decoding the numbers tonight. That's a locked door too. Season 2 mystery only. But the tree itself, the show calls it the faraway tree. You climb in here and you come out somewhere else entirely. The tree is a door. And here's the part that turns it from strange to tragic. 40 years ago, a woman died at that tree, Victor's mother. Her name was Miranda, She was trying to reach the tower, to save the children, she said. She never made it through.
So let's take the tree apart piece by piece, because there are two completely different traditions hanging on those branches, and one of them is real enough that you can drive past it today. Bottles on a tree to catch spirits? That is a documented practice. It comes from the Kongo peoples of Central Africa, and it was carried across the Atlantic into the American South, where it lives inside the tradition called Hoodoo. You hang bottles on the bare branches of a tree, cobalt blue by preference. Spirits that wander in the night are drawn inside the glass, and they're trapped there. And when the morning sun hits the bottle, it destroys them. The art historian Robert Farris Thompson traced that whole lineage in his book, Flash of the Spirit, in 1983. And you can still see bottle trees standing in yards across the American South right now, today.
So the show hung a real spirit trap on its magic tree.
And notice what we just did. We named the tradition. This one is not Slavic. It isn't European at all. It's Congo, by way of the American South, and it gets its own name on the door. That's the deal on this channel. No tradition wears another culture's coat.
But the other half, the tree being a door, a tree that moves you between places, that part feels older than any one tradition.
That part is the oldest map human beings ever drew, because before a tree was ever a trap for spirits, it was the architecture of everything. In the oldest pictures of the cosmos, the tree isn't inside the world. The world is inside the tree. The Norse called it Yggdrasil, the great ash whose branches hold the heavens and whose roots reach down into the realms of the dead. It's right there in the Eddas. And the Slavs drew the same tree: crown, the heavens; trunk, the world of the living; and the roots. The roots are Nav, the cold underworld of the dead. We stood at the foot of this tree in our very first episode, the oak of Perun, the zapis trees on the village borders, hung with offerings. We said it then, and it's still true. They didn't invent a magic tree. They rebuilt the world tree.
And now the symbol. Go back to Jade in the tunnels, the children on the stone slabs, all of them pointing up at roots, carved roots above their heads. Stop and think about what roots above your head actually mean.
You're under the tree.
You're under the tree. So here's where I throw tonight's theory on the fire, and I'll label it. This is ours, not the show's. If the world is the tree, crown, trunk, roots, and the town sits beneath the roots, then the town isn't beside our world, it's under it, in the cellar of the cosmos. And the Slavs had a name for the root realm, Nav, the land of the dead. Every signpost we found in 2 seasons, the unclean dead, the children the earth won't take, and now roots overhead, every one of them points down.
Which brings us to the tunnels, because Tabitha finds them the hard way. She's been digging in her own basement all season. She calls it Plan B, a way out under the house. And one day, the floor just gives. She falls through into a cave, into the dark under the town. And someone is waiting for her down there. Victor. And the first thing he says is, "He said you would come." The boy in white told him to wait for her.
This one still gives me the chills.
And then Victor tells her the rules of the deep. Don't talk. The creatures sleep down here in the daytime. These are the caverns they sleep in. And then he shows her something worse than the sleeping monsters. Paintings on the cave walls. The creatures draw.
A living person descending into the sleeping dark beneath the world and being told to keep silent. That has a name, and the name is 4,000 years old. Katabasis, the descent into the land of the dead. It is arguably the oldest plot human beings ever wrote down. Inanna descends in the Sumerian tablets. Odysseus does it in Book 11 of the Odyssey. Orpheus goes down for Eurydice. And in every single version, the underworld has rules. Don't eat what they offer you. Don't look back. And do not speak. Do not answer when the dead call to you.
3 episodes, 3 realms, the threshold, the forest, and now the deep. And it's the same rule every time.
Never respond. One key. It has fit every door in the story, and the story keeps handing us new doors.
Then the finale. Tabitha goes to Victor and asks him to take her to the faraway tree. The tree takes her where no road in that town goes, to the foot of the lighthouse, the tower she's been dreaming about all season. She climbs, and on the stairs, from somewhere above her, she hears it, a child's voice. Ankou. She reaches the top, and there are no children there, no one to rescue, just the view and the boy in white. And he says, "I'm sorry, this is the only way," and he pushes her out of the window.
And she wakes up, white ceiling.
Machines beeping. A hospital called St. Anthony's. A doctor telling her she was found by hikers, unconscious in the woods 3 days ago. And outside the window, cars, boats, the ordinary world. She's out. The first person we have ever watched leave that town. And she left through a window, 40 stories of falling, and 3 missing days.
Or the first person we've watched. Because remember, Miranda, 40 years earlier, same children, same tower, same mission. She died at the tree. And that makes a pattern, because we saw the same shape in part 1. Martin chained in the dark on the exact road Boyd would later walk. This place always has a predecessor, someone who went ahead and paid.
So, what does the folklore say about the one who actually makes it out?
It says, read the fine print. Start with Orpheus. Virgil tells it. Ovid tells it. The one mortal who walks out of the land of the dead, and the exit has a condition, and the condition breaks him. The return is never free. Then go north and west to the Celtic Otherworld, because this is where it gets uncomfortably specific. Oisín rides home from Tir Naog, the land of the young, after what feels to him like a few years. He's warned, do not touch the ground. His saddle slips, his foot touches earth, and 300 years land on him at once. And there's a medieval version with paperwork. Walter Map, an actual 12th century court writer, records the legend of King Herla, who attends an otherworld wedding for what seems like 3 days, rides home and finds that centuries have passed, and the moment his men dismount, they crumble into dust.
So, in the old stories, leaving the otherworld isn't an escape.
It's a transaction. You can walk out, but you don't return to the world you left or as the person who left it. The door out always has a price tag, and you only get to read it after you've walked through. So the folklore's question for Tabitha isn't the one the fandom is asking. It isn't, can she get back in? It's, what did leaving just cost her? Hold that thought for season 3.
All right, scoreboard time. Because in our first episode, from folklore alone, we made a prediction about how this whole story ends. 3 things in order. The original sin has to be named. The debt has to be paid by a willing sacrifice. And the cycle can only be broken by someone who remembers a life they shouldn't be able to remember.
And look at what season 2 just put on the table. Dead children begging one woman with one word, over and over, like something they need her to do. A predecessor on the same road 40 years before her. And a door out that opened for exactly one person. We're not claiming victory, we're claiming the show keeps choosing the exact hallway the folklore built. Season 3 puts all 3 predictions on trial.
Next time, Season 3, The Sacrifice, and the Ones Who Remember. If tonight got under your skin, subscribe, because the deeper this show digs, the older the bones get.
The earth would not accept them, so they stayed. Don't answer the first knock, and until then, be careful whose voice you follow home.